Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast and another edition of Knicks 25 for 25, where we are counting down the top 25 Knicks of the last 25 seasons, starting right after the end of the Patrick Ewing era. I feel like I have fallen into the thing where I assume people know all the rules of this, and I should probably say that every now and again. We've been having a lot of fun. We are through, I believe, the first 10 names on our list. Andrew Claudio is here with me. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Hello, John. I'm doing well. To everybody watching, we don't really get to say this either. We hope you're having a good summer. We hope you're enjoying the weather wherever you're watching from or listening from. I know John and I, hopefully at the time of this airing, are doing something fun and in the sun and potentially near a body of water. And I hope you all get to enjoy some of that prosperity this summer as well.
Very much so. But for today, we're going to move on to the next Nick on our list. He is someone that I'm looking forward to talking about, even though, whereas for pretty much everyone else that we have gone through so far, I knew how the conversation was going to go, generally speaking, or at least I knew the big points we were going to hit, and I kind of had a feel of like the tenor of what the discussion was going to be. This one, I'm curious where it goes, and I say that fully acknowledging that I don't know myself what I'm going to say about this player, because I don't really know what I think of him at the end of the day, which might sound strange, but I don't know. Andrew, maybe you could back me up on this. We're here to talk about OG Anunoby.
He's the shortest tenured Nick on this list.
Among players who are still on the team.
Let me be clear. He is the third shortest tenured Knicks on this. No. That's right. Mikal Bridges didn't make the list. So he is the second shortest tenured Nick on this list. That would have been so much better if I got that right the first time.
So let's clean it up. He's the second of Knicks who made the list, who are still on the team, which, again, spoiler alert, there's quite a few left. He has the second shortest tenured, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns is going to appear on this thing, but Karl-Anthony Towns is going to appear on this thing. He's the only current Knick that has been here for longer. In terms of total lengths of stay, or I guess maybe games played would be the better barometer. I believe he is third after Cat and Dante DiVincenzo, because Jeremy Lin did not end up making our list. Unless I forgot someone, I'm pretty sure that's right.
You're right about Cat and Dante DiVincenzo. If you wanted to include playoff games, then I don't know if OG passes Dante, because OG got hurt during the playoffs last year. Dante DiVincenzo played 81 games during the regular season, his one season with the Knicks, and OG Anunoby has played 97 so far. Yeah. So
and Dante, and we should just say, maybe as a jumping off point for our conversation, Cat is a bit higher up, but obviously made All-NBA team. So fewer games than OG Anunoby, but has some hardware to show for his trouble.
Well, so that's event as far as how I was going to start what I was saying. Like, one of the shortest tenured Knicks on our list, a role player, and he's a role player.
Let's get back to that. Keep okay, going.
But like, for him to be all these spots ahead of Dante, all these spots ahead of Mikal, doesn't have hardware to sport like some of the other players on our list that are higher, despite recapping 25 seasons and counting the 25 greatest or 25 best or whatever criteria people wanted to use. He ends up in the top 15 of this list. So it's weird. I can't even, as we put up the ranking, fault his spot on the list, because guess where I ranked him, John? 15th. And it's partially because the elevation into contender status, for me at least, really was solidified once they traded for OG Anunoby. And it's proof in, when we put up the resume, it's proof in the pudding of what they've been since he's been here.
So, yeah, as you're looking at the various rankings, lowest ranking 21 by DJ Zulo, highest ranking 10th by Sean with a W. So a bit of variability, although if you take out those two outliers, which I believe in statistics is usually want to take out the highest result and the lowest result, it's everything is between 12 and 18, which that feels right, especially given where he ended up. He ended up at 15. You led me right into my analogy, and it's not a perfect analogy. I want to warn everybody, and I'll say it, and then we'll go to the resume. For me, this current version of the Knicks started, and I understand We Here season, the whole thing. We've talked about the We Here season in different contexts in connection to different players so far on this list. I think the longer we go on with this version of the team, the more the We Here era for me, and this is probably a whole different podcast, goes into a separate bucket. It's a connected bucket, but it's a separate bucket. So this is all to say, for me, this era of the Knicks started with Jalen Brunson, who is like Iron Man. When Iron Man, the movie, came out, it's like, oh, they got him. They got Robert Downey Jr. Okay, we're working with something here. And then Josh Hart came along, and that to me was like Captain America Civil War, where, and I apologize to anybody out there who's listening who's not an MCU fan, you're going to have to bear with me on this one, where it's like, okay, now there's a bunch of them up there at the same time. They're kind of doing the thing. OG Anunoby's first season, when he first came here and first put on the uniform, the month of January, and then again in the playoffs when he was healthy, that was like Infinity War, where it's like, holy crap, they did it. This, however many years in the making plan, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it was, wasn't quite as long for the Knicks, but it almost felt that long. It felt like we had been building up, and OG Anunoby came, and it's like this is everything we've dreamed of. And then this past season was supposed to be Endgame, which is I think is it still the most successful movie of all time? If it's not one, it's two.
Avatar, yeah. The James Cameron released Avatar, re-released in the theaters when the two new ones came out, so that way it could pass Endgame. But to your point, it's at the time of its release, it became the highest grossing movie of all time.
That was what this team was supposed to be. Wow. It was not.
If you ask somebody from Greenwich that is currently unemployed, it was Endgame for one head coach.
Well, yeah, it was Endgame in that sense. So, and this is all to say, again, I'm not sure how to rank this player and how to put him in the context of these other Knicks, because so much of his legacy, and I put legacy in air quotes because he's been here a year and a half, is tied up in his impact on the overall team success. And that impact was kind of more complicated thing to discuss this year. So maybe that's something that we could return to right after we go through, as I said, his resume. So attended Indiana University, drafted number 23 overall in 2017 by the Raptors. We should note that the only reason he fell to 23 is because he sustained, I want to say it was either a torn ACL or some significant injury towards the end of college. So he fell a little bit further in the draft. He was traded to the Knicks right around New Year's Eve in 2023 with Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn. What's Malachi Flynn up to? For, a couple of guys who are of some renown, RJ Barrett, Manuel Quickly, and a second-round pick. Good second-round pick, but a second-round pick nonetheless.
Second-round pick that became Jonathan Mogbo, for those who wanted to know what the Knicks also gave up in that trade.
Had like a moment against us in a game. He's on the Raptors now, right?
Yes. I'll be honest, you could have told me he peed his pants during a game. I wouldn't know.
That was not
you're
the
wrong.
Moment that I was talking about.
Okay, I don't have a Jonathan Mogbo moment.
I just
remember
remember
him for making the NBA.
He had like a play or a couple of plays that stick out. Anyway, signed the largest contract in Knicks history last summer, which again is a part of this conversation. Finished 11th in all defense voting in 2025. So literally one spot out of the top 10. I would love to have given him some truth serum and find out what he thought of that. And the Knicks, and this is the jumping off point. The Knicks are 65-32 in the regular seaon when he is in the lineup. And by the way, I mean, their winning percentage in the playoffs when he's in the lineup is probably about the same, right? Because we can do this real quick. They were, I'm not counting Game 7 against Indiana. Not counting that. So I'm not
counting that. So they were 6-2. They were 6-2, then 10-4, then 14-6, and then 16-10.
So 16-10. That's pretty good.
Not terrible.
I mean, for the playoffs?
Yeah. It's a lot of playoff wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to your mind, we'll do like lasting legacy later, but like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of OG Anunoby?
I mean, I hinted at it. The fact that from an overall Knicks impact thing, it's funny you went to talking about Jalen Brunson when he got here, the Knicks became something, and it's like it starts with Julius Randle for me. Like Julius Randle is Iron Man in this scenario. Now,
well, Iron Man 2 did suck ass. So that's the 22-23 season.
And look, this also proves the point that you
21-22, sorry.
You forgot an entire movie that came out before Iron Man 2 called The Incredible Hulk. Like there is a forgettable movie in the MCU that nobody references after Iron Man came out.
Oh.
And before Avengers, which is what I would put Jalen Brunson as, there was a long stretch of like, all right, so does this character matter? What is this all connecting to? Fair. And then if you want to go through the rest of the MCU and find where Josh Hart is, but I do agree that an elevation of sorts did take place when really the first game Anunoby played with the Knicks, that Minnesota game. And to what I've said and what we've kind of all said, and I said this during the DiVincenzo conversation, that January 2024 version of the Knicks that looked unstoppable, it looked like he came here and created a title contender for the first time in 25 seasons. And I'm someone that sings the praises of the Melo season in 2013, but there was never a realistic point of that season, especially when Miami got rolling and had their winning streak, that I thought the Knicks would ever have. Like I thought I wanted to see it because they went 3-1 against that team during the regular season, but there was never a realistic point where I was like, oh, they have a shot against Miami. There was a point in January where I wanted to see like this looks pretty unstoppable equally.
Give us a shot against Boston.
Give us a shot against Boston. And it's why the Anunoby conversation does become complicated because of what ends up happening in the playoffs. And even though the team didn't have Randall, they still had Hartenstein. They still had Anunoby. They just won a hard fought series against against Philadelphia. Then you add in what happens the following season. There's a lot of complications in talking about OG Anunoby. But my first thought is just there's no longer just happy. Like we've gone through a bunch of episodes recently of moments we were just happy if they were competent.
Yeah.
This is the next step. This is them taking a step into contender status, and he's been front and center for their most successful moments of this little 18-month stretch of being contenders.
So this is where, for me, the conversation gets a little bit more complex because, and I'm gonna pit him against Cat for this reason. Cat's been here for a shorter amount of time than OG Anunoby. He had much more up and down postseason in terms of Cat's highest highs will be things that, like, I mean, depending on how the rest of this era goes, we might be telling our grandkids about, and his lows were things that I wouldn't wish being told to my worst enemy. But we know what Cat is. Cat's going to be the same guy next year. He's going to be the same guy after that. He's going to be the same guy for as long as he's here. Maybe 1 year it all kind of comes together in such a way, which, by the way, it like kind of almost did this year. Game 1. But we know what Cat is. It's going to sound weird. I still don't fully know what to make of OG Anunoby. I'm going to add a part to it as a member of this team, because the first year happened, whatever it was, 27 regular season games, the playoffs, got hurt. Okay. Comes back this year. I don't want to say he was like underwhelming out of the gate, but like it was kind of quiet at first for OG. Got his shooting, going. Like they kind of found a little bit of a stride on defense, but it was like, and he certainly had moments on defense throughout the year, but it wasn't until the Knicks' best player went and started watching the games from the sidelines where OG Anunoby exploded. And my God, was his month-long stretch, mostly in March, an explosion. And look, it was against soft competition. There were a couple of games in there against some better competition. I'm thinking of the Cleveland game, and he didn't look so good against when the competition got better. So I don't want to make it out to be like, we know for sure that there is a version of OG Anunoby that always looks like the guy that was there in March. That being said, we've heard all the same things, and at this point, it's all been reported. OG, is he the same guy when he's getting shots versus when he's not getting shots? And what does that mean for his impact moving forward? Because the thing that you have to be able to say about his first season is like, he had the rock, right? Julius and Jalen were here, but he was very much a big piece of the puzzle. And especially after Julius went down later, there was never any question. Like he was getting everything he could handle. And it kind of was.
Johnny barely played.
I'm saying it when he came back for the playoffs.
Brunson's usage was still through the roof.
It was still very high, but like there was never. Maybe your memory's a lot better than mine. For the 2024 playoffs, I never remember like long stretches of games where OG Anunoby was just like a bystander. Like there were maybe times where he was a little quieter, but so I guess this is all to say the Knicks now have Jalen Brunson. They seem to be moving forward with Karl-Anthony Towns. They just gave Mikal Bridges not the maximum extension they could have handed him, but pretty close to the max extension they could have handed him. And it seems like for the foreseeable future, OG Anunoby is going to continue to be a guy who is fighting for third billing. And I guess I'm just wondering what does that look like moving forward? Because the returns thus far have been, I don't even want to say uneven, but like, I don't know, man. It was something about, it left me wondering this season.
But what are you wondering? That there's a version where he's the number 2 and that version from March is real?
I'm wondering if he needs a little bit more meat on the bone every night to feel like he needs to feel to be his best self on both ends of the floor.
Look, there's a huge defensive toll that is asked of him, especially was asked of him under Tom Thibodeau, that I think his reputation has earned that. Now last year also there's a Mikal Bridges element to that's a bit more complicated because
big element.
Because he might be OG Anunoby might be the best off ball or one of the best off ball defenders in the league, and as a free safety, he might be my favorite Nick ever to watch play off ball defense. But the fact that Mikal wasn't as great last year at the point of attack or as disruptive at the point of attack, it made things a bit more difficult for OG defensively. And then you add in potential frustrations where he'll get 9 shots or 12 shots, and it's a lot of standing in the corner. And then, he went through a month where he was getting the ball from, I have the stretch pulled up. It's
he was playing at an all NBA level. It was just
for 15 games he played at an all NBA level. The Knicks went 8-7 and
and had some close calls with some bad teams.
Right. Like he averaged 23 points a game on a 55 effective field goal percentage and 39% from 3 on 7 attempts. He was outstanding during that stretch.
To be clear, to go back to your question before, my argument is not that OG Anunoby should be the second leading scorer on the Knicks at any point in time during his Knicks career, because that would not be in the best interest of the Knicks. But it's more along the lines of like, look, we had conversations about Isaiah Hartenstein and Dante DiVincenzo, and like guys from different eras. Kurt Thomas, where we were throwing bouquets of roses because didn't matter, like whatever they got, their mere presence every time they step foot on the court, the whole thing. Look, the Josh Hart conversation is going to be a complicated one because there are many misgivings with Josh Hart. But again, that's not a guy who goes out there and cares if he gets 1 shot, 10 shots, whatever. There is this thing with OG, which is why to talk about, like, again, his place on the top 12, like you said it, the 15th greatest Knicks of the last 25 years. That's high, man.
It is. I think he's probably the best. Well, again, the Josh Hart conversation will be a fun one, but
an interesting one.
I think the fact that OG Anunoby is one of the best role players they've had of the past 25 seasons, even if he thinks he's not a role player, I think he served his role well. I thought he played outstanding defense against Cade Cunningham and forced Cade to become a shooter by the end of the series. And it is what ended up helping the Knicks win that series when he couldn't hit anything in Game 6. I thought in the Boston series, he finally got to play a switch heavy defense and get out of this drop coverage that they were getting burned by all season. I thought he played really good defense against Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid in a series where both of them were going nuclear a year earlier. I think there's a defensive side of the ball that the Knicks were missing when Iron Man started, right? When the MCU started, that finally when they got him, it was recognizing, oh, this is what an elite defender looks like. Everything that people want to try and put on these other players that have developed. Like we were having Quentin Grimes, can he get to a certain point in that conversation? Yep. Like, can he become an elite defender at the point of attack? During his first couple seasons. And then we got OG Anunoby, and it was, oh, that's somebody that you put on the other team's best player in playoff series and hope it goes well. So, like, look, the offensive side of the ball, I agree with you, is a mixed bag because he's not a lockdown 3-point shooter. He'll go through stretches where he's just like 1 for 8 each game. But there are also games where he'll be putting the ball in the hoop, and then I'm staring at his playoff game log now. More good games than bad games, for sure. One thing that really hasn't taken a night off during his Knicks tenure is his defense, and I think that for me is what's elevated them to this level where I think they're one of the best teams in the NBA.
It never takes a night off, but as you were talking about him, it just hit me, and it hit me why when you said role player, something clicked in my head. The version, forget the version. The impact that he had during his first year here, both in January and then when he came back towards the end of the year, that was not the impact of a role player. You do not have an on-off that is on par with Nikola Jokic during a season in which he was, one of the 10 greatest offensive seasons in the history of the league. You don't have that level of, you can't call someone a role player if that's the impact they have on the team. And it set the bar so freaking high to the point where now we're another season into it. And to your point, OG Anunoby for a role player had a wonderful season. But if we're sitting here and we're talking about a season and a couple of handfuls of extra games on top of that season, again, 97 total games, for a role player and a role player-esque impact, he is probably not number 15 on this list. He's number 15 because I think all of us, as we were doing this ranking, remember that initial impact and remember it's like, whoa, this is it. And again, did that say more about that team? Did that say more about his specific fit on that specific team? Or does it, was it just, we call a spade, a guy going into a contract summer? It was,
I don't know. See, we'll get to lasting image because I have a very strong rebuttal against that.
Fine. Let's move into the categories, starting with the most memorable moment so far as a Knick or lasting image. I got a tie, and it's his first Knick my first Knick memory of him and my last Knick memory of him. I will never forget the day he was traded here. I've told the story before. I was in studio with Dexter Henry and CP, and just the utter elation over finally getting him, and in conjunction with that, the Minnesota game, because it was like, oh, okay. And then again, I feel like I'm the only person who gives a shit about this, but Game 6 against Indiana this past year, Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, like, love you guys. Y'all didn't show up. Josh Hart, nope. Nobody really showed up. One guy did, and it was OG Anunoby. And if it was not for him, that game, I mean, they would have gotten their doors blown off. Now, it didn't end up being all that close in the fourth quarter, but the fact that they were even there in the fourth with like a prayer to maybe make a comeback, it was all OG Anunoby. And so that's why that's one of my lasting images.
So you picked your good ones. I also remember your reaction to the Knicks getting OG Anunoby, and then when you were allowed to have internet access again. I'll pick two different ones just because,
okay.
And it'll be part of my rebuttal to any he was in a contract year and was that impactful.
Okay.
Because that man pulled his hamstring during the playoffs and came back for Game 7. And forced his way to come back, even though he could not run or really put any meaningful pressure on that
move.
So on that left hammy, and the other team was attacking him. He hit 2 buckets, put his hand up to the Garden crowd, and clearly wanted to be out there on the battlefield with his teammates. That's not a guy just milking it to get to the offseason. Maybe
Very
that's
fair.
It's part of why Jeremy Lin's not on the list, by the way. Like, not that I feel that way or hold him anything against that 7 seed that he didn't want to come back and play for. But OG Anunoby, with the rest of his team, like fighting tooth and nail to get to the conference finals, he wanted to be out there. That's not a guy that wasn't prepared for war. So when it mattered most, he showed up. And to your point, the following season, again against Indiana, he also was prepared for war to try and keep this team's title hopes alive.
Yep.
So that's not a guy that would. No, look. Do I give him any credit for not taking the full max? No. $212 million is still a lot of money. I think it is very complicated. We heard it all season. What's going on? What happened in that locker room last year on the court because of some of the ways he was used, just flat out. And he didn't just want to be a corner 3-point shooter. The other thing we talked about what he was during the playoffs against Philly, there were opportunities for him to get some on-ball reps and take a mid-range shot. And at times last year, it was like, well, Cat eats, Brunson eats, and then everybody else gets opportunities.
Scraps. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I still remain my best memory of him being him coming back in Game 7 to play with that team when it was very clear you got an upcoming contract. You get hurt even worse. Like, who knows what that first season in your contract looks like. And he said, screw it. I got to be out there with my guys. With an honorable mention to him dunking on Joel Embiid, which my body ascended to a different plane. If only he had made the free throw, because then we wouldn't have had to sweat out the final 30 seconds because they would have been up 7. Him dunking on Joel Embiid and then the stare down felt like an exclamation point to the series, even though it wasn't officially that.
It was a fever. I mean, others have used this term. It was a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
That first year was a fever dream. Which
they went 20-3 in regular season games with OG Anunoby. 20-3. Knicks fans that might not remember. 20-3.
You're proving my point. You can't call that a guy a role player. You just can't.
So okay, where do you think Celtics fans would have Derek White on the list of top 25 Celtics of the last 25 seasons?
Off the top of my head, I mean, the Celtics have had a lot more success than the Knicks over the last 25 years. They've had some down years too.
Right, but he's been part of one of their most successful runs.
Off the absolute dome, without thinking about it too much, I think he would absolutely make the list.
Oh.
You don't think he would make the list?
No. It's not. Make the list isn't even a question. I think he's around the same range as Anunoby.
I think
fans regard Derek White.
I was thinking between 10 and 15.
Yeah, okay. So that's basically what I'm saying about Anunoby. I know a lot of the dorks made a case for Derek White to make the All-Star team a couple years ago, and maybe this year without Jason Tatum, there's a 25-5 season in Derek White. But I think there's a similar impact in once Derek White entered the starting five for the Celtics, they became a 67-win team and won a title. And with Anunoby, once they replaced IQ and RJ with Anunoby, the Knicks became a title contender. I think there's a similar impact in that way.
Again, just to drive the point home, in an alternate universe where OG Anunoby gets traded to the Knicks before day one of the 2023-24 season, and he stays healthy for 85% of his games, and they're not winning at a 20-3 clip, and his on-off isn't a plus 25 or whatever the ungodly number it was, but it's like, plus 17, plus 18, something like that, and they're winning at like a 60 win clip or something like that. I think he's absolutely in the All-Star conversation. So,
but a fringe All-Star conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. That's what I think he would be if that continued. It's like Derek White. I just don't think it's
like Derek White. You're right.
Which Derek White is, to the NBA stereotypical or prototypical definition, is a role player on the Celtics. He's just, you could be one of, like, Alex Caruso is a role player. Isaiah Hartenstein is a role player. They're just some really impactful role players.
It's just funny to me because, like, Josh Hart was on the fringes of the fringes of the fringes of the All-Star conversation this year. The fringes of that. He, in my mind, is that's role player in giant blinking red lights. Broke Clyde single season, triple double record, the whole thing. Role player. Zero question in my mind. OG is closer to for me, to Draymond than he is to Josh Hart.
Is Draymond not a role player?
If he is, he's arguably the greatest role player in the history of the sport. I
agree with you. I think I almost think it's coming off that I'm saying role player is a negative.
No, it's not negative. Again, it's a different conversation, and this is the right guy to have the conversation about. But at what point does a role player elevate his game in that role? Like, basically what we're asking? We're asking if you're someone who goes out there and isn't a shot creator, isn't an offensive engine for your team. Mm-hmm. Are you by definition a role player? And I don't have the answer to that question. It's ultimately a matter of opinion, but this is what we're talking about here. I think
so. And I think we're dancing somewhat around the OG Anunoby conversation about calling him a great role player. Is that should Cat or Brunson? Well, we saw it when Brunson went down, OG stepped up to be an engine, and it went really well during this past season. And if, like, say Cat goes down this season for an extended stretch, I think OG would step up well. Whereas who would have to go down before Josh Hart's the engine on this team, right? Like, he doesn't have the ceiling anything higher than a really good role player. And maybe OG Anunoby's ceiling is unknown because the Knicks have put him in a position where we need you to be a really, really good role player on this team.
I'll put it to this way. It's actually, I don't even know if this is even in the same context of the conversation we're having. If you gave me the choice to move Cat, who just made the All-NBA team and again is appearing higher on this list in less number of games. If you gave me a choice to move Cat for, I don't want to start throwing names, like a Miles Turner, Jared Allen ish level, like the 12th best center in the league or something like that. You know what I mean? 10th best center, 9th best center in the league, and keep OG Anunoby. Or you gave me the choice to keep Cat and move OG Anunoby for, again, it's tough because you go through the laundry list of things that OG Anunoby does for the Knicks, and I don't even have a great name to put in here. That's my point. Is I give you one guess which choice I'm taking. It's keeping OG Anunoby because I saw a version of the Knicks without Karl-Anthony Towns that looked like they were very close to winning. Now, people are going to be listening to this with, what are you on, drugs? You the one who's been yelling and screaming about it. If they win game one, they're probably going to the finals. I get that. But at the same time, I just didn't feel the same watching this year's version of the team as I did watching last year's version of the team when OG was at peak OG.
If I'm trading Cat and I can have Hartenstein back, then
sure,
maybe.
done.
Can I have Dante back too?
I get greedy. Okay. Quick break to tell you about America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. You know the words. Shout out to Cornbread. Yes, Cornbread, the source of your healthy happy hour. It's a natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment. Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. Well, how do they achieve that balance? My favorite thing about Cornbread is it's just the right amount for me as someone who is not a regular user of these sorts of products, but still wants to get that relaxation without feeling anxious or paranoid like some other cannabis edibles, which is why Cornbread's 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio is perfect for me. They have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy, which is just the right dose, and it gives me everything I need without any of the stuff that I don't want. If you are looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that is 100% legal. As a special offer to Knicks Film School listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use promo code KFS at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. Biggest regret, something we wish could have gone differently or better, even if out of their control. I mean, it's your choice. It's either OG doesn't pull his hamstring at the end of game 2 in 2024, or alternatively, Andrew Nembhard doesn't hit that shot. The Knicks managed to finish off the Pacers in 5 games. Even if OG sits for the first 2 games in Boston and the Knicks drop both of those games, fine. Pat Riley says playoff series doesn't start until the road team wins a game. And you're coming back home.
Continues to be a wrong statement that you keep repeating.
What?
The Riley statement. It's not a right statement. So the series doesn't start till a road team wins a game, right? You know who won the first road game of Knicks Pacers when OG pulled his hamstring? The Pacers.
The Pacers.
Game 7. So the series started in game 7.
Okay. Why are you distracting me?
Because you've said this for years. At every
he said it. It's not me. It's Pat Riley.
Right. He has a lot of great quotes out there. Pick a better one. This is not a good one. Pat Riley, you're a rat and a jerk, and we hate you here. Was I going anywhere with that? I just started. No. I have no idea. Where to go.
Point
I just want to say bad things about Pat Riley.
Even if OG does pull his hammy and doesn't come back until game 3, and the Knicks are down 0-2, I still just would have loved to see what they could have done with that opportunity.
My regret's a different Indiana series.
All right. What do you? Game 1. That's your regret.
It's game 1. Don't go under on every screen that Nesmith is getting these threes up for. Hit a free throw. Like, if I'm taking biggest regret, as much as the hamstring thing was like it happened, and I would love to see that team healthy against Boston, they would have been on the road. They wouldn't have had. They would have been playing a much better Celtics team that didn't just go through the trenches of a title run and in the Olympics the year before. They had home court in the Eastern Conference Finals and had a 14-point lead with less than 3 minutes left. And if OG Anunoby hits a free throw, or
how about it catches the ball,
catches an inbounds pass, like there's a lot of regret from game 1 that I have to assign that. Whereas the hamstring thing is interesting because
it's a Tibbs thing too.
So we had one of the sports doctors come on our show. Dr. Brian, and he said, no, it's not an overuse injury. And yet in the back of my mind, it's like, yeah, but it might be an overuse injury.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, like That was all hands. The whole Philly series was an all hands on deck.
Right.
series.
Right. I think that team was destined to break down in that playoffs. And that's really where I come back to. And I think the following season, I thought when they beat Boston, it was like, man, I'm just going to go on record here. I think if they win game 1 against the Pacers, they win that series. And then who knows what happens in the finals against a OKC team that I was slowly realizing is somewhat beatable if you could score on them, which is an impossible task, but they would have been much easier to defend if they have OG Anunoby able to guard SGA throughout that series.
And yet, and I say this as someone who, as it was happening, never fully believed the 2023-24 Knicks were a threat to win the title. I think they would have had a better shot in 24.
With Randall on that January team?
No, even without Randall.
I don't think they beat Boston.
Oh, man, if OG doesn't pull his hamstring and they are able to beat Indiana in 5 games and they go into the Boston series a little rested and OG's healthy,
I think Boston wins that series.
I would put the odds that Boston wins the series just like I put the odds that Oklahoma City beats this Knicks team. But if you're asking me to split hairs, that team had something that you can't teach. That you can't quantify in anything. And it's not like Boston. I don't want to say that they weren't there for the taking, but Indiana, we've talked about this. Indiana almost won 3 of those games. I know it was a sweep, but like,
no, I'm with you on the fact that like, was Boston like
Porzingis wasn't even playing?
Yeah, Porzingis didn't play that series, so they weren't the full most unstoppable version of themselves. Sure, I think with Randall they win that series. Is what as far as I'm willing to go. With Randall they win that series. Without him,
I don't know if I would feel more confident if Randall was there.
No, see that goes back to what January was, and maybe this is the whole week. Like, why not now? 2024 Knicks conversation is a January Knicks conversation. I don't think it was sustainable. Them playing 7 guys a night, Alec Burke never getting off the bench, and then when he comes back, just having one really great game and becoming a sharpshooter in some blowouts. Like
I don't know, man. I think it was
like Josh Hart was a 6th man in January. And I thought he was an outstanding 6th man.
I think OG going down is what it wasn't just that they were losing 40 whatever minutes a game that he was playing. It's that they were losing, other than Brunson, the most important 40 something minutes of anyone. And, again, it has everything to do with this conversation. Why is OG only 15th on this list? Because I'm sitting here and I ranked him 18th, so I ranked him a little lower. I'm sitting here making the argument that if OG doesn't go down, who the hell knows what happens a year ago?
Let's engagement farm this to Knicks fans watching. If you're watching this, please let us know. Do you think the Indiana series in 24 is a bigger OG Anunoby regret or the Indiana series in 25? Because they had home court advantage in 2025. They had just slayed the Dragon in Boston. Like, they were fully healthy. And they lost the series. And I know you don't. I don't know if you don't like it, but you don't feel the same way I do about Game 6 against Boston. What this city became, but like this after Game 6, the momentum they had rolling into the series.
Andrew, here's something we don't talk about. I'm convinced the only reason they lost Game 2 was because they still weren't fully over Game 1.
I would agree with that.
So
yeah,
in those 3.5 minutes, wherever you want to start the clock, 3.5 minutes, the last 40 something seconds, wherever you want to start the clock, if those don't happen, I think there's a great shot they start the series fucking 2-0. Like, who the hell knows what happens? Like, it's not.
And that was the conference finals. Like,
so basically, you're like, is there an argument that in Game 6 against Boston they finally figured it out? Yes, and you know why? Because for 44.5 minutes against Indiana, they played like more or less, not defensively right out of the gate, but other than that, more or less they played like the team. Remember when they gave up Indiana was like 11 of 12.
Didn't miss, yes, for the first whatever 5 minutes.
But other than that, they kind of played like the team that we saw in Game 6 against Boston. Look, you have a great argument. I'm the one who's arguing uphill here, but I just
And I loved that team from 24. I just always thought they were coming at it from the perspective of the ultimate underdog. They were favorites to win the conference finals and fucking blew it. Like, that's why it's a regret. If I think
blew it,
John, it's not just one of the greatest OG Anunoby regrets. It's one of the greatest Knicks regrets.
Andrew,
you know?
Look, I don't know if I want to be doing this 40 years from now, but if we're sitting here in whatever technology is, when that
your hologram can be doing this.
My hologram, if my hologram's still talking about game 1 in 2025 against the Pacers, like, God help me.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. It's getting depressing. What's the next category? Oh, what role would they have?
I thought we could have a longer conversation than the last one, because what role would they have on this current team? Do you want to have like a quick 2-minute? What role do you think he'll have under Mike Brown? Because that's what the conversation is. He's on the current team.
I mean,
I think it'll be here. I don't know if this is a hot take. I think it'll be very similar to what he had this past season.
As I have become very good at doing, I'm just going to steal from Benji, where I think Benji has talked about, like, and DJ actually. DJ has been more on the Macau part of it, but I just remember, like, right after the season ended and Tibbs was fired and figuring out who's going to be the next head coach, like, there's some easy ways to envision Bridges getting not more involved, but like just having some more low-hanging fruit tossed his way. What OG like wants to do / likes to do / seems to be most comfortable doing, which is like, going, like, having the ball in his hands, and not just, that's what Benji always mentioned, the Chicago action, where it's like similar to the stuff they used to run for RJ. Just get OG Anunoby. It doesn't have to do a whole lot. It's just, it gets him going downhill. It seems like he wants a little bit more than that. So is Mike Brown going to come in? Like, Mike Brown could come in and devise more ways for OG to get some of his own low-hanging fruit. Is that going to be enough for him? Is he going to be happy with that? That's where it goes back to what we were talking about before. But I would agree with you. It's going to be the same as last year.
My biggest Mike Brown question, and really it's post-Tibbs question, is how many minutes OG Anunoby plays. Guy was second in the NBA in minutes played, fifth in the NBA in average minutes played last year. Had one of his healthiest seasons in the NBA. Shout out to their award-winning medical staff, but importance was put on the Stars played 35. The Tibbs impression: the Stars played 35 minutes, and then the wings guard and play a little more. And
that was good.
Thank you. And he. Like, OG is part of that, and arguably had the biggest load to carry last year. So I wonder, in a different era where maybe there's more of a plan in place, AOG, like, we're gonna put you on shorter shifts, give you off days. Like, is he gonna get to his qualification for games played for all defense and DPOY and all that stuff?
Oh, no.
But will he still? But no, it's more just like, does he have the same healthier season, but now it's more like manufactured rather than, hey, he stayed healthy, even though he had just remembered he had like a stretch where he missed time last year. That's right.
He did. He also played 74 games, which is the most games he's played since his rookie season.
So in the fact that if he plays another 75 games, right? Is it a lower minute average? And then what does that do to his production? It's the biggest Mike Brown question I have regarding OG Anunoby.
I am going to wager that OG Anunoby does not average as many points as he did last year. Last year, he averaged a career high 18 points per game. I will predict that he averages less than that. I will predict that he averages around 33, between 33 and 34 minutes a game. And I think he will make an all defense team. His first with the Knicks.
I will counter by saying, I'm looking up what the range was. What was he averaging when? How many points per game did you say?
He averaged for the year. He averaged 18.
But what will he for this year?
16 and a half.
So when Jalen Brunson got hurt against the Lakers, at that point in the season, OG Anunoby was averaging exactly 16 and a half points per game.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that neither of the big guns will get hurt, allowing him to have a month where he's averaging 25 points a game. Because that's the path to 18.
Yeah.
I agree with you. 16 a game is probably OG Anunoby in that third fiddle role. Which again, I think that's what you're asking a guy that has his defensive responsibility. If you can get us 16 points as well as guard the other team's best player, or second best player and be an off-ball demon, then that's your role.
All right, which leads us to, man, talk about a tough one. Lasting legacy with Knicks fans. You could tell me, OG Anunoby is wearing a Milwaukee Bucks uniform several months from now. You could tell me that OG Anunoby sticks around for much longer than that, and yet his lasting legacy is, man, remember when he first got here? ... sigh. Or you could tell me he is a slightly poor man's Dave the Busher by the time all is said and done. You could tell me any of those things. And I believe you, because it's just, there's a world where it, like last year, it wasn't OG. It was just the pieces just didn't add up, and who knows how much the coach had to do with that. And where now they just get a new voice in here, a different voice, and all the pieces fit together like they're supposed to. And OG Anunoby, again, we continue having the conversation of like, when is a role player no longer a role player? I mean, well, I wouldn't bet on him making an all-star team during his tenure in New York, but like, who the fuck, like if the next 3 or 4 years are like the Knicks are like one of the best teams in the NBA and they win a championship or two, you could absolutely make an all-star team. Like, you could tell me anything. You could tell me anything and I believe it.
Yeah. So the path to him making an all-star team is, I think it would be one of those. I mean, look, the
Cavs last year, they had 3 all-stars and so Allen was in the conversation.
That path is they get off to a 50-10 start. And
sure.
or to that, they're a 65-win team, and the Knicks clearly need 3 all-stars, right?
Yep.
The other path is what might happen with Derek White this year in a weak conference, that he, with more on-ball reps, it's why that's the comp I keep going back to with Anunoby. Like, there's a world where Derek White averages 25 and 5 this year.
Well, no, he's not going to average 25 points.
No, 25.
25 and 5. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, with that and with all of his, with his minutes going up, his usage going up, his numbers over 36 minutes would probably look really great with that type of usage. That's probably the path for OG Anunoby to being an all-star. And I think when it comes to lasting legacy, it's that, look, I don't know if I've said this yet about anybody. I don't think his legacy's been completed yet. I think if I'm projecting in my most, I get plagued for this in baseball for sure, but in my most optimistic of sports fan opinions, I think OG Anunoby is going to be on the first Knicks team to make a finals since 1999. And I think he'll have a large role in that and will be held in such high regard that if we're going over what the 25 for 25 list is next summer, we'll look back and be like, man, OG was 15 and he should be so much higher now. And it only exists that talking about how it didn't come all together last year, a team that was 2 wins away from a finals.
Yeah.
Like, that's now the new standard. You didn't get it all. The pieces didn't fully come together and you're this close to a title. That's the new floor that's been created because OG Anunoby's on your team.
He's not like this player really at all in terms of how they play, other than that they kind of play the same position. If I had to bet on it right now, I would bet that when all is said and done with OG's Knick career, I guess no, I don't want to say this because this would mean that they don't. This would mean that they don't win a title. I was going to say Anthony Mason, that he slots in somewhere around where Anthony Mason slots in. If they win a title, it's between, it's like, I mean, he's Bill Bradley. He's never going to beat DeBusschere. DeBusschere was, the best defensive player in the entire. OG Anunoby is awesome. DeBusschere was the best defensive player in the league, or at least at the very least the best defensive non-center in the league, and he made the All-Star team. Like he made a bunch of All-Star teams. So, listen, man, it's on the table for him. He's got the ability. Like we know he could do it.
They win a title, he's the top 10 Knick of the last 25 years. Maybe.
Oh, if they win a title, then there's 5 of the guys on this team are top 10 Knicks.
Well, already it's 6 of the Knicks on this list are in the top 25. The only one that missed was Mikal Bridges.
I'm talking about like if they win a title, it's ever. You're saying if they win a title, he's a top 20 Knick ever. Without question, actually, if he's assuming he's healthy and like
to
the team, level that
they're not winning a title without OG Anunoby. I feel confident in saying that.
No, then he's a top 20 Knick ever. He's probably winds up slotting around between 15 and 20. And I mean, that's my best. That would be my best guess.
I'll have the hard conversation, which won't be a full conversation, but like they win a title and he is as impactful defensively and has a couple I didn't say this because we were running long on time, but lasting memory, game 1 against Boston, he had like 6 threes and 20. He was the game's leading scorer in that comeback, the first of the 2 comebacks.
Close that as game log.
So like both of those games in game 1 and 2 against the Celtics, he has lasting images. He's one half of the wing stop. Go ahead.
Game 1 against Boston, 29 points, 6 of 11 from 3, 10 of 20 from the field overall.
And
game 2 had a much more muted impact.
Much more muted impact, but what's the lasting image from game 2? It's Mikal and OG blocking Tatum and Wingstop being fully realized. That is a literal lasting image. It was my phone background for like a week and a half.
His Boston series was wild. He had 3 unbelievable games, 29 points in game 1, 20 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 4 of 8 from deep in game 4, and then 23 points on 7 of 18 shooting. The numbers for game 6 don't reflect how great he was in that game. He started missing kind of late, but
he missed his last 5 when they were up 40 because for some reason he and a lot of the guys were still in the game.
Yeah, but he was incredible. That series, the team went as OG Anunoby went, with the exception of game 2 when he was 2 of 9 for 5 points. And as you pointed out, his defensive impact in game 2 was still very good.
Yeah, Celtics scored 90 points, and they had some beautiful magic in that fourth quarter with Mikal, OG, and Mitch on the floor together in that comeback. So, I'll have where I was leading to is like OG Anunoby has a bunch of impactful games during a title run. There's a very interesting Carmelo Anthony versus OG Anunoby conversation all time.
Well, now you're.
That's food to the fire, but this is how high we regard playoff success in this world, right? And if you have a guy that's made a conference final and won a ring for a franchise that hasn't won one in 50 years, that's just part of the conversation, John.
I think Carmelo Anthony is the 5th greatest Knick of all time.
Right.
After there's Ewing, Reed, Clyde, in whatever order you want to put them. My daughter's sneaking down here. And then DeBusschere's number 4. And I'm sure there's people that would put Melo over DeBusschere. And then there's Melo. Anyway, my daughter is coming to say goodnight. So that's my...
Izzy.
Yes.
OG Anunoby or Carmelo Anthony all time.
All right. So, Isabel, who do you think is a better all-time... will wind up, let's be clear.
If the Knicks win a ring, yeah.
If the Knicks win a ring in the next few years, who's going to be higher on the Knicks all-time list? OG or Melo? Which one? Melo.
All right. Judge ordered. We have a tiebreaker here.
From the mouths of babes. All right.
Uncle Claudio appreciates that, by the way, Izzy.
All right. That's my side to go. This was good. This was an interesting conversation, as I thought it would be.
I have enjoyed every single one of these legacies that we are talking about. I very much hope we get to have the OG Anunoby post-ring all-time conversation, because it will mean the Knicks have won an NBA championship.
Talk about summer content. If the Knicks ever win a ring, that's the summer. It's go through every single player on the roster and talk about where they rank in.
Yes. Ariel Hukporti, where does he rank all time now that he has a ring in NBA history?
Jordan Clarkson.
History? Jordan Clarkson was the 8th man on a team that won a title. Him versus John Starks. Let's do it.
Your lips to God's ears.
Tyler Kolek. Him or Stephon Marbury.
That's it. All right, everybody out there. Thank you for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. If you dig what we're doing here, be sure to support the show in any way that you can, whether it's subscribing on YouTube, hitting the like button on YouTube, give us a rating, a 5-star, 5 stars, of course, a nice review, or just telling your friends that, hey, if you got a Jones in for some basketball content, there's these guys over at Knicks Film School who are doing something pretty fun. And again, it's only going to get more interesting as we keep moving up this list, because there's going to be right up till the end some stuff that's going to be worthy of a lot of debate as we continue along, as if some of the stuff wasn't already. It has been. Okay, Andrew, thank you.
I can just fully tease it.
Yeah.
An episode a lot of you have been waiting for is up next.
We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody enjoy this week, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out.